It's been about 2 weeks, man. Let's just get right into it. I want to retire and I only want to buy SoFi. So can you tell me how long it's going to take and what I need to do? How can we make
I
this happen?
We have to address the elephant in the room first, and that's that the market is total garbage, right?
This is the
Let's
best
talk
time to
about
buy,
that.
isn't it? When it's garbage,
It, it,
I'm going to get good
exactly.
deals.
This is what people don't understand. It's supposed to be hard to become rich. It is not supposed to be
Right.
easy, okay? If it's easy, then everybody would do it. Everybody would have bought Tesla when it was dropping to 175
Right.
pre-split.
Yeah.
But they didn't, okay? They're buying it now at $1,000 a share thinking they're geniuses.
Everyone's afraid who is not in the markets. They're afraid to get in. If you're holding positions, you're afraid, can they go lower? Like, this is absolute fear. So this is the time where you separate the men from the boys.
People are finding out that 2020, 2021 was an anomaly and
Oh yeah.
not the standard of the
Oh
way
yeah.
things work.
Right. So unless you like put 100,000 into Bitcoin in 2012, it's going to be hard.
We're not trying to make money, okay? This is the thing. I'm trying to become wealthy where I don't have to worry about money.
So if I'm one of those guys, I just love SoFi. I love the company. I believe in it. It has fallen off a cliff. How can I retire off this stock? I think the first thing we have to do is define what does it mean to retire? $1, $2 million?
I'm estimating 1 million, but we're going to have our this spreadsheet easily available for the people in our Patreon. So join
Right.
the Patreon and you can download it and put your own numbers in, but I'm going to be using 1 million bucks to retire.
Starting today. So today is not the best day for the stock. So this is our
Actually,
starting
it's the
point.
best day to buy the
Right.
stock.
Buy
Today
the
is the
stock.
best day.
Right. But if you've been in it before, you're pretty sad. You're upset every day.
This is an important chart. It's the AAII Sentiment. Tom Lee follows this sort of all the time in terms of knowing when to buy stocks. And Tom Lee, when he says, when this is super bearish, it's probably a good time for you. It usually calls a bottom
Yeah.
or some form of a bottom. I'm not saying this is the bottom today. Okay, I'm not saying
Right.
that. April 21st right now. This is yesterday's sentiment. We are 2-1 bearish.
This is the overall market.
40% bearish, 19% bullish, so 2-1.
We are making a smart hedge against the possibility that perhaps we're underinvested if the market wants to disappoint everybody or surprise everybody and rip higher. No one's pricing that in, JC.
I'm looking at consumer confidence in some of the worst or lack of consumer confidence, I should say, that we've ever seen. The only times that you can compare to the present are the great financial crisis, the fiscal cliff, the savings and loans crisis of the early 90s, and the death of equities. That's the only other 4 times you can compare to current sentiment. So I think a lot of negativity is already baked into the cake.
The consumer sentiment as well as the AAII are
Yeah.
both at almost
Horrendous.
lows.
Yeah, horrendous.
And when it comes to individuals, say what you want about this poll. I understand it's a small sample size. Everybody has their opinion about the AAII poll, but we have the fewest amount of bulls since 1992, Shawnee baby. And in 1992, such hit singles as Baby Got Back and Achy Breaky Heart were topping the charts last time there were this few bulls in the stock market. Sean, I mean,
man.
it's
I was air guitaring to hair metal at that time.
hair metal.
You got a
Like
point. I
hair
gave
metal as a type.
You got a point, Sean.
Of metal. And then, of course, the Bank of America fund manager survey. How many of them are expecting a stronger economy? The fewest ever are expecting that. So, you know, it seems to me when we go back to other periods, seems to me, you know, we want to ask ourselves, was that a good time to be accumulating stock, or was this a good time to be distributing and getting rid of stock? You know, historically, this is a good time to be accumulating. So I think, personally, that there are investors that maybe might be, the risk is that they are not long enough, that there is not enough risk exposure in a portfolio that's outside of tech, by the way. So that's where my head is at.
I got to be honest, JC. I mean, I knew anecdotally that sentiment was bad, but until you guys started sharing these charts around the last couple of days, I'm actually pretty surprised by how bearish sentiment is. I mean, these extremes are really extreme. Like the fact that we've only, if you go back to that other chart, the fact that we've only been here 4 other times previously over the last 40 years, that's epic, man. Epic.
The sentiment as at the lowest possible. Does it mean we've reached a bottom? It doesn't mean that, but I would say we are closer to a bottom than we are to a top, if that's something we can say.
The iceberg is we see it, it's on its way, and it's any day now.
I'm always a contrarian, and later tonight we're going to talk with Amit about Netflix. And anytime I hear people say like they know the answer, including you, my little spidey things keep going off like we just don't know these answers. And I
Well,
don't know if a recession's
it's
coming.
10th Manning, and it's important. It's 10th Manning. It's saying if everyone in this room is agreeing, we're not seeing something. There's a blind spot. So you got to call it out. Well, here's what I think's going on, and I don't know what your take on it is. I just think there's so much news available now that all of the feelings are amplified, right? So if a couple of people, if the right people with the right number of followers and they go on the right show are bearish, that gets amplified through all the retail space and the other institutional investors.
If you remember back in 2020, after March, obviously, when the market started to roar,
Yeah.
all the people like Kathy Wood and whoever else started going long. The outsiders were correct.
Yeah.
And then they were on CNBC all the time. Tom Lee was there all the time saying, we're going higher. And Kathy Wood was there.
There was a lot of people that first started investing in 2020. They've never experienced anything but a raging bull market, threw their life savings in. It just kept going up and up and up. And now I feel like some of these institutions that had, they were piling their money on top of are just teaching them a lesson, letting them know like it's not all fun and games.
Wall Street has certain criteria in a down market and where commodities are going up and dividend stocks are going up. This stock is not appealing because Wall Street does not sit on stocks for 5 years. That's me and you. Me and you sit on stocks for 5 years. It has collapsed, and it's perfectly following this line straight down. And I know a lot of people, they don't want to believe that this technical stuff works. They're like, oh, it's a good price. I should buy in, or it'll beat this. But there is nothing to say that SoFi can't go there to $3. And I think actually we're probably heading $3. Like, it seems inevitable now. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but this has been a straight shot down unless the market does turn anytime soon. I do want to point out a couple of things. We are at an RSI of 30. This is on the daily. That we're due for a bounce. That's the one thing that can happen.
Even when the RSI was trending up, it just continued to downtrend until it breaks 50%. It looks like it'll continue to trade up and down, or the RSI will keep bouncing from 30 to 50, 30 to 50, and it's just going to keep going down.
I don't think we're going over $8. Honestly, at this point, I do think later in the year that when the market does turn and the sentiment completely 180s, and I think we would be going higher. But at this point, we can go. There is no support. This is the thing. There's nothing to.
Well, it's lower.
To look at.
It's like, isn't it like 20% below its IPO?
Right.
Look at that.
Right.
I mean, there's no floor.
I mean, this is a straight shot down. So look, you can DCA into this, and I have been, but I know fully well that I might be sitting on this for years and years. There's two trends I have here. One is the $24 we've talked about, like sort of the cap. The stopping block.
Yeah.
But there's also a negative trend here that is still possible that if we extend it out and out and out and even further now, oh my God, this stock could be years and years sitting below $15.
Yeah.
I love seeking alpha because everything in my portfolio is now warning.
Warning, don't make this your homepage.
Warning, don't buy this. Price to sales, that it's still kind of high. This is the other reason I think we might be going down. So all these growth stocks are getting obliterated, right? So at 15, it was crazy, right? This is when we thought everything was going to the moon. Now it's at 6. It could go to 3 easily. Companies like Square are at 3 or 2 right now. Why can't SoFi be at 3?
That would
right?
put it that would bring it down to like 2-3 billion.
Sales growth is 45% expected this year. And I'm not sure what it was last year, but it was also around 50%. And next year, 2023, it's still expected to be in the 40s. This is a high growth company.
What's the revenue?
Well, here it is, right here.
Adjusted EBITDA.
Well, so last year in 2021, it's around $1 billion. And let me bring that up. I actually have it.
Okay, well that's not bad to make $1 billion. That's no small feat.
They're doing all these things, so I'm not actually worried. I know we're in this environment, and I know I have to hold it for multiple years, but I'm not worried about the actual company going bankrupt because they're growing really fast.
There was also the issue with the student loans that he kind of had to go up and try to get ahead of it. So there are like some outside catalysts, political catalysts.
Yeah.
We're in an election year. There's going to be some movement one way or the other on those very things. On the last video we did for SoFi, the conversion, the rate with which they are upselling customers who only maybe have 1 or 2 products is growing. That number is growing, and that's big because now you're getting more money. What is it? Their average revenue per user is going up.
I'm not actually worried about the stock like we are worried about, for example, maybe Netflix could be worried. Maybe you could be worried about Romeo Power because those things are not growing. But let's just bring up the facts, all right?
Yeah.
Some things are not growing and some things are. So,
next, you're going to tell me Very Good Foods is going at bankrupt too.
I still have 5,000 shares.
Oh man, so you're the CFO.
Even now, in this terrible environment, still the price target is $15 by these analysts. That's the average price target for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, look at the highest
But
one's $22. They're still thinking it'd be 20. Well, okay, so that's telling you that some of these analysts are understanding that this could be artificially low because of general market sentiment, right?
they lost $500 million while they made in revenue almost $1 billion. But if they're growing at 50% compounded, technically, if their expenses don't blow up next year, it's possible 2022 and
Yeah.
definitely 2023. They're supposed to be net positive.
At this market cap to go from 3 or go from 6 to
Five.
12
Yeah.
or 5 something to 12. I mean that's an easy double to make because you'll need less cash than you would if it was 10 to 20.
I personally think they will have no issue surviving
Yeah, no
considering they're
issue.
growing 50%
Right.
and going to be a net positive in terms of cash flow in a year or two.
So here we are discussing SoFi on a regular basis. If SoFi is one of your stocks, come in, join the Discord, and have a chat with us. You'll get access to all of these channels discussing a variety of stocks across a number of industries. And if you do decide that you want to take it to the next level, you can join us and you become a Patreon. And there's a couple of channels here, specific member updates just for those guys. We do some Patreon only episodes. You also have access to like for now, when this video is done, Vitaly will upload the spreadsheet that we'll be looking at here to discuss SoFi. You'll say you have it up there. You can download it, plug your own numbers in. Sometimes it's discussing metrics on the companies. Other times it's discussing options or price action estimates for the future. We even have access to our trades. You can see what Vitaly and I are personally buying. I went bananas yesterday. What did I pick up? 11 shares of Tesla at $1,000. And I don't feel bad about it. Vitaly's
Well,
selling.
you've been buying Tesla this whole last week or two, I think, just DCAing into Tesla. Basically.
DCAing because my feeling is it's just not going to stay at this $1,000 forever. This $1,000 is the $400 price that we saw before it split, in my opinion. Once it passes this, I don't know that we're ever going to come back. Here he goes. Vitaly picked up another 250 shares. This was the 7th. This is really recent. Picked up another couple shares, 250 at $7.95. So here we are with our Patreon. This $1 supporter level. It's getting close to your last chance to be grandfathered into this because this is going away. Inflation, supply chain issues over here, Freelancer Finance. We got to get Vitaly a shirt and a hat. So come on, guys. Like we got to just make this happen. So you can join us right now for limited time only for $1 a month. If you're a fan, $4.20. If you're a super fan, $7.99. We have a new one, Cosmo. I just wish we knew the date because I think if Cosmo, if you're watching and you signed up to our Patreon on $4.20 at the $4.20 level, well,
Right, I got to do that.
I
too.
mean, that's
Yeah, I
only
gotta do that.
possible one day a year. You pick the year. Cosmo, in and out, boom, props.
I wonder if Cosmo, leave a comment. Were you waiting? Like, you
Were
waited
like,
for that
watching
day.
us, were you watching this since like the AAII days and said, "Oh man, this is going to be awesome." SoFi, what a disaster! I mean, that is the headline, guys. The last leg of a sell-off is usually the capitulation phase, where long-standing holders or former vehement bulls throw in the towel. Short interest approaching 20% in conjunction with a chart stuck in a down channel and a guidance cut. The guidance has now been kitchen sinked. Despite the action in the stock, the internal metrics of the company continue to improve and improve. While we have been on the wrong side of the trade the last few months on our public ratings, the stock is no longer expensive like it was just a few months ago. Big risks to consider are the widening losses and dilution. The problem in the stock is really twofold. Anything bearish for banks hits the stock, and in turn, anytime the street sells down innovation type names, SoFi gets nailed too. This is why the stock is down another 30% in 2022. Some really crazy action. Though, the action is not limited to just SoFi. There are dozens of stocks with similar charts. The question you have to ask as an investor is whether the company can and will be profitable. The company is already EBITDA positive. While recent news and guidance has led to accelerated selling and short interest remains high, the stock, in our opinion, remains an investment for future growth. The stock has been a disaster for the last few months, but we see reasons to remain bullish. Let us discuss.
He says we have liked the stock since it dipped under 8. Well, I've liked it since under 15.
Uber bull in the house.
Oh man, I remember when people were calling us crazy, saying that it'll never go under 10, and that there was a video we did where it said like it could be going to 10, and
There was
I
a lot
remember
of
being
hate for
called
that.
out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, This is funny.
Yeah, those guys are gonna toilet paper your house. The take home. So here is where we are at. The stock chart is ugly, short interest is high, guidance was cut, and factors in student loans not being repaid at all this year. Stock-based compensation is dilutive. Further, net losses are widening. On the positive side, valuation is improving daily as the stock implodes. Revenue is growing strongly. EBITDA is widening and margins are improving. The bank charter is a long-term win, and the ongoing expansion through acquisitions will help the company long-term. The question to ask yourself is whether you will capitulate here or ride the choppy tides. If you believe the company will go broke, get out. If you see long-term potential, these are the levels that you should be buying heavily. Short term, a relief rally is likely, but long term, we think the stock offers a compelling opportunity despite the near term negative.
Short term, we can have a bounce to $8. I think there's a trade to be made here.
Yeah.
Not that I actually swing trade like this, but it doesn't seem like a bad trade. Finally, the numbers. Okay, this is the whole point of this video. Is this stock going to make us $1 million?
It's like, I want to make $1 million in SoFi, 5 years, 10 years, and then see how much of your cash are you going to have to pump into this stock and how well is it going to have to perform for you to get there in any reasonable amount of time. Because if you're putting in 800,000 to make $1 million, it's like,
Yeah.
you know.
Current share price, $6.58 as we saw. SoFi market cap was $5.278 billion.
Right.
And this is the amount desired. We can play with that. Maybe we want $2 million at this point because of all our
I
all
do
our work.
think, I honestly think that $1 million is not enough in 10 years. The average price of a house in this area is like $1 million now. It's like,
Yeah, I agree
you know what
that
I mean? It's like you need
in
$1
10
million
years,
just
you
to
probably
pay off
want
your
2 million, 3
right,
million.
'cause $1 million is going to pay off your house.
So let's do the first one versus Square. It's not an exact same business comparison, but I figure they have enough similarities where they have banking, they have crypto, they have a lot of these things similar that I'm hoping. And Square, by the way, was almost what, 150, 200 billion before now. Now it's at 62
Been
billion.
crushed.
This is brand new.
Crushed too. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so this is what you need. The multiple is 12 from this SoFi market cap to the 62 billion. That means if you invested to get to this, you need $84,000 invested today to make $1 million.
It might take you a while, but you could get that's a reasonable amount to get into a stock.
Just to be clear what's going on here, that here's the market cap of Square currently, $62 billion. Here's the SoFi market cap at $5.278 billion. So it's a simple division problem to get the multiple. If SoFi can get to Square's market cap, it would be a 12x from here. That's what I'm saying. That would mean the stock price of SoFi would equal 12 times the
Right, it would be
$6.58.
70. Okay, so I see what you're saying. What does SoFi need to do to make you $1 million if it reaches the market cap of other competing stocks in the same industry?
If I had to invest right now to get $1 million to get my 12x
Right.
to reach the same market cap as Square, we can assume that if they hit $62 billion, we have a 12x.
Right.
The stock price is $78. This is not counting dilution. That could happen, of course. The invested amount today would be 84,000, and the shares you need based on this current price is 12,840 shares.
So you need like 13,000 shares, and if it hits 62, if it hits the 62 billion market cap, you're a millionaire.
So now let's go on to PayPal, and PayPal's a little bit better. So it's a $100 billion market cap for PayPal. You get a 20 times multiple if it hits $100 billion. And look, banks do hit hundreds of billions of dollars. So I don't see that this is an impossible thing to happen 10 years from now. The good news is that if you work out the math, the stock price is $129. You only have to invest 50 grand, which is very doable, a lot better than 84 grand.
Right.
And you only need 7,726 shares, which is actually doable.
That's doable, say, within a year or 2 years to get 6,000. If it stays at this price and you're buying them in thousand share increments. But you need a 20x. It's doable.
If SoFi does succeed, I think that they should be valued like Wells Fargo. I actually believe that because Wells Fargo is a turd, and I have them. And if SoFi offered similar products, Wells Fargo already has a system where once you're in it, it's really a pain in the butt. Like I have business loans with them. Yeah, it's a moat.
Yeah.
So if SoFi is able to do exactly what Wells Fargo does at some point, I would be happy to leave Wells Fargo. Honestly, they're such a terrible bank. But here they are, $181 billion today, April 21st, 2021. And If SoFi was to get to this market cap, that's a 34x from here. Okay, that's crazy. So we're talking about a $225 stock price, only $30,000 invested, and you only need 5,500 shares. This is very extremely doable if
There's
you
some
think
people
SoFi.
on our Discord that probably have 5,000 shares right now.
So here we go, and the last one is JP Morgan, which I don't think they're going to get to that status. I could be wrong, unless Galileo really takes off. But it's just interesting to take a look at it.
Well, this is like the bull of all bulls. This is
Right.
like, oh man, look at that.
This
72
is like maybe 20 years out. If SoFi is like a massive company, I don't think this is going to happen in the 10 years. But you get a 73x to reach $383 billion from this paltry $5 billion, okay? And we have a $478 stock price. You only need 13,000 bucks if this does happen.
Yeah.
And you only need 2,600 shares. So you could
Look,
be a
and just to
millionaire.
be clear, like this sounds crazy, but like I just did the math. I made a 35x on Netflix by buying them when they were still a DVD company. There was a time when Netflix was seen like the SoFi on the block, the new kid on the block coming in. If you just look at what the company is today, they're nothing like that little tiny company that came in selling you DVDs.
The banking thing, it's not sexy. No one's like looking for new banks, right? Like, I think you only go to a new bank when you're young, like SoFi.
Yeah.
So they have to get all the young people, which they're trying to do. That's great because young people are not going to Bank of America, are they? Wells Fargo? I mean, leave it in the comments if you're actually trying to get your Wells Fargo
That's like
account.
your
I don't know.
dad's. That's like your dad's company, right? That's where your dad has his money. I mean, Wells Fargo didn't buy the stadium. You know, SoFi is. They're just doing all of the right things. And again, you know, their customer base now. It's a lot harder for them to lose that customer than a company like Netflix. And look at Netflix 35x. So what happens to SoFi if they just continue to grow their users and upsell their users, and then their average customer base gets to the age where they're looking to get a home loan, get a car loan. These are much bigger investments. You know, they're starting to invest in crypto and stock. It's just there's a lot of growth that this company could achieve over the next 10 years, and it could make what the company looks like today seem like what Netflix did when they were just selling DVDs.
You're actually saying that this 73x is possible?
It's possible because the Wells Fargo one happened. I lived that. I actually did make the 35x. Basically anything under $10 would mean that for $10,000, which is a lot of money, but it's still a doable amount of cash.
Yeah.
You could pick up 1,000 shares. I think it's a good point to make that the reason you would hold this for 5-10 years is because it's a relatively small part of your overall portfolio. The big boys are running, the Teslas, the Enphase, the crypto is running. So you let it go on the off chance that it can just continue to grow. You forget about it. And honestly, that's how I made the 35x on Netflix. I bought it in 2002, whatever the hell it was, and forgot about it for like 7 years.
No, honestly, if you a stock like SoFi, you have to forget about because if you're trying to time some like at $8 timing it or timing it when it hits $14, like that this is not the stock to buy for the double. Like buy Tesla, you're gonna get a double. If you double $1 to $2. What's the difference if you do it in Tesla? You can buy the what is it, the partial shares, the fractional shares?
Yeah, fractional shares.
So if you double $1 to $2, buy Tesla. It'll double for you, and it's a lot safer.
The point of this video is to say if you're in on this company and you believe and this is like one of your like ride or die companies, this is the amount of money you need to invest in this thing for you to have the home run. These people that think that SoFi is going to the moon is one of these line items here. That's what the moon is, and that means you got to have 80 grand or 50 grand or the lowest you need is 13 grand. But then it needs to become JP Morgan. Or if you've got 85,000, it can just be Square. And then you get your million. But like, that's what the moon is. That's the moon for SoFi.
Let's say you had a position you can do 10% of your portfolio, whatever that is. So if it's not 84 grand, it's 10 grand. So you change this number around, you put the $100,000.
Right.
This will be in our spreadsheets for our Patreon members.
On the Discord,
you just put 100 grand and you see, look, I got to buy 1,200 shares. I'm fine with 100 grand off of this.
If it gets to the valuation of Square, what are you going to buy when you cash out that 100 grand?
You know what? I would consider this sort of play money because I do have my Teslas, my Enphase, other things that are bigger, that Bitcoin, whatever, that I believe in way more and invest all my dollars in. So this would probably be like the vacation money.
My God, the vacation. Jesus Christ, you're going to go for 100,000?
Look,
around the world.
Rent a yacht for a month, or you know what I'm saying? Whatever Or
could
2
get
weeks,
a-
whatever it costs to get a yacht.
You might be able to get a flight on Virgin Galactic.
If Tesla does what Tesla's going to do and Enphase does what Enphase is going to do, this is obviously play money at 100 grand.
Right. If you like this, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below what other stock should we do. What other stock should we cover in this little series about how to like retire or how to make $1 million off of blank.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot and see you on the next one.
Bye.